The next station is Takadanobaba, JY15.
Hey, how's it going everyone? This is just Future Joe chiming in to a vlog from Past Joe a couple of weeks ago. So the video you're about to watch is a vlog that I initially made for myself as a way to test out the Panasonic Lumix GH5S and to use it in a real world scenario and just see how it came out vlogging and kind of like testing things. Originally, as I said, I was making it for me, but as I've been watching back the footage, I thought, you know what, there's probably some value for those who maybe are interested in this, so I thought I would just publish it anyway. So this is just a preemptive warning that the video is not really polished in any way, but you may be able to form your own opinions on some of the footage and stuff, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy some of the sights and sounds of Japan along the way, and then check back to the end of this video where I will be back with some of my extra thoughts, having looked over the footage and my conclusions to things. Alright, enjoy! As you would have seen from the previous video, we are in Japan, and this video, I'm just going to preempt it by saying it's a video more for me than it is for anyone else, because I'm going to be testing the Panasonic Lumix GH5S in low light in comparison to what I previously used to use, the GH5. So we're going to do some comparison shots. It's not going to be scientific, it's not going to be overly technical, because to be honest that's probably going to bore me. We're just going to get some shots, use it and see how it goes, and then I want to look over the footage and see how it looks, because this thing should be exceptionally good in low light. Now of course Tokyo is pretty lit up in places, so we should get a mix between darkness, bright lights, a whole sort of variety of things. And by the way, we're in Takadanobaba, which is one of my favourite stations on the Yamanote line, purely because of the way it sounds. It's just a fun word to say. Takadanobaba. Takadanobaba. Alright, so we're going to start things off. This is 50 frames a second, 4K, at ISO of 1600 and an aperture of 2.8. So I'm going to be testing this out as sort of real world as I can. Pretty much we're going to be making a vlog that isn't really a vlog, because I'm going to be testing it, talking to the camera, seeing how it reacts, seeing what's going on, and yeah, just kind of comparing everything. Now there are a few differences between the GH5S and my GH5. So most notably is the low light performance on the S is much better. However, there are a few compromises and a few sacrifices made. So one of which is the lack of an inbuilt image stabilized sensor. So you kind of lose a little bit of the stability on things, and the GH5 is probably the best I've ever used in terms of stability, so there may be some shakiness using this camera, but I don't know. I think the low light should overthrow the lack of stabilized sensor, to be honest. So Ellie is now shooting with my GH5, and I've also got a new lens on there. This is the 42.5mm Nocticron 1.2. So I should point out, by the way, that this camera, the GH5S, and the Nocticron 42.5mm 1.2 have been loaned to me by Panasonic UK, or the Lumix UK team. So I'm going to keep mentioning that throughout the videos. I went a bit Canadian there. So I'm going to keep mentioning that throughout the videos, and in particular we have a rail series coming up. So we're going to be doing, hopefully, a 4 or 5 part sort of multi-vlog series throughout Japan, filmed all with this equipment. I'm very excited for that. We've been spending a lot of time planning it. That should be happening very soon. So if you do want to see those videos and future ones that we're filming with these cameras, then do subscribe to the channel and switch on your bell notifications. You'll get notified of those. So far, a great looking camera. We're going to go and find some areas that are maybe kind of a little bit more personal, and maybe some like small alleyways, and see if there are people cooking some things and bits of steam and smoke and all sorts. So the way that I usually do these vlogs is I kind of leave my camera in auto for a few of the functions and manual for a few of the others. So I have custom profiles set up for my various different like video needs. So the main one, the C1, custom one, I guess that's what it stands for, is my vlog profile, and that's always in 25 frames a second, 4K. and then I set my ISO to auto, which is what it's working on now. So we're going to see how the ISO works throughout auto. Unfortunately, I can't see at what level it's choosing as we go through these different stages. And my shutter speed is just 180 degrees, so that would be 1/50th of a second. We've come into a very dark alley, by the way. There's just a few sort of like shop lights, a few sporadic street lights. Yeah, I guess if you're confused why it looks dead, then yeah, that would be why, because it is the 3rd of January. We're sort of like shadow hunting this evening, I guess. Anyway, this is a little bit of a rambly one, just seeing how the auto ISO has worked out as we've come under street lights. Alright, we're currently at ISO 2000. This is a very dark alley. About the only light is coming from a street light and that vending machine. Aperture of f4. Alright, this is ISO of 6400. Aperture f3.5, 50 frames a second. Alright, so now on ISO of 10,000, still in that same dark alley. Now I thought I'd point out something that I kind of quite often do with my vlogs when it comes to dark areas, is I will literally position myself next to a shop window, or in this case, a nice bright vending machine, just to sort of illuminate my face, and I'll usually sort of face into the light and try and use that to sort of improve the quality of the vlogs, because the brighter the pixels are, the sharper they are, and also just the more legible it is to see things. This is still at ISO 10,000, by the way. So another thing I should point out that unfortunately didn't make it into the New York or Canada vlogs is a firmware update to the GH5 and GH5S. So this now has an updated autofocus algorithm. Now I know that autofocus has been bad on some of my vlogs lately. It's just kind of been difficult with busy backgrounds and stuff, and believe me, it annoys me far more than it annoys anyone else watching them. But it's kind of a trade-off for having that flip-out screen and some other stuff. So with the new firmware update, I'm hoping that the autofocus is much better. Oh, that reflection in the right side looks great. Put your face closer. Not like a turtle neck. Let me get a close-up of you putting the money in. Okay, this is really dark. That's not even, that's the lock. That's so dark it is. I thought that was the money thing. Just FYI, this is 50 frames a second, ISO auto, and 2.8. I must admit the light from the vending machine is great. For reference, by the way, Ellie just got some test shots using the GH5, and that was an aperture of 2.8, ISO again of auto, and still with the vending machine light as a guide. Again, this is more for me to look at, to see how it compares to what my previous setup was. ISO 1600, 5000. I'm just going to try a straight up side-by-side comparison between the GH5S and the GH5. I'm going to do them separately so that I can use the same lens, which is the 12 to 60 2.8 to 4, and yeah, it's not going to be, as I said, thoroughly scientific or technical. I'm just going to run through the different ISOs, read them out, and see how they look afterwards. Alright, so we're running at 25 frames a second, f2.8, and we're currently on the low ISO setting of 80 on the GH5S. Let's bump this up to 100. This is 125, 160. I'm going to speed through these because it's obviously very dark. 200, this is 250, 320, 400, this is ISO 500, 640, 800, 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000, 5000, 6400, 8000. This is ISO of 10,000. This is probably about the exposure that it needs to be. We're at 12,800, 16,000. This is 20,000, 25,600, 32,000, 40,000, 51,200. And then we're in the high range. This is now 64,000, 80,000, 102,400, 128,000. The picture is really gone now, by the way. 160,000. 204, 800. And that is the full limit of this. Now obviously you're not going to shoot like this because this is way overexposed and the picture is going grainy as. Let's just jump it back to 10,000 and 12,800. This is now 12,800 and I think this is the right sort of setting for this scene given how dark it is naturally. Alright, let's now do it on the GH5. Alright, so we're now doing the same test on the GH5. We're still at 25 frames a second, f2.8, and we're at the low ISO of 100. So it doesn't go down as far as the GH5S to 80. So we're starting at low 100. You go 125, 160, 200, 250, 320, 400, 500, 640, 800, 1000, 1250, 1600, 2000, 2500, 3200, 4000. Picture already looks kind of grainy, by the way. 5000, 6400, 8000, 10,000, 12,800, and this is where we said on the GH5S that it was kind of the right exposure, and I can already see on the screen that looks pretty grainy and not that great. So 12,800 seems to be the limit of this camera. I thought I could do it higher, maybe it was a menu setting or something, but I can't seem to find that, and to be honest I know the picture's already pretty bad, so I'm just going to leave it here and we'll compare that to the GH5S. I'm also going to do a side-by-side comparison of 12,800 between the GH5 and the GH5S, and you can see quite clearly that the GH5S is much cleaner. Okay, so I've now switched to the Nocticron 42.5mm. I've not actually shot with this lens properly yet. Ellie's kind of been hogging it all evening and every other time that we've been shooting this past week or so. So I'm going to experience what it's like using this. This goes all the way to 1.2, sort of extremely wide aperture. We probably don't need to set the ISO that high, but we'll see how it turns out either way. And also that means that I'm not going to be able to vlog from it anymore because this is going to be way too zoomed in. So we're having to talk to the GH5. Okay. The taxi drivers here are such gentlemen. And they look boss. They're always wearing suits. Shiny cars. So great. White gloves and everything, love it. Alright, I think we've exhausted what we want to see in Takadanobaba, so we're going to head up 2 stops, I think it is, to Ikebukuro, and maybe play in an arcade for a little bit. Just think of the lights, you know, the lights and the things and the low level. Found a train simulator. I have to play this. I do not know how to play this. I don't know if it's like driving games or what. What's that? So having tested out the GH5S in comparison with my GH5 and also reviewing some of the feedback that you guys left on the initial vlog I did from this Japan trip, I've come to some ideas of how I'm going to best use these cameras, and essentially what I'm going to be doing going forward is, and what I have been doing during the rail trip that we're currently halfway through, is maximizing the potential for both cameras in what they both do best. So for example, the lack of an inbuilt image stabilized sensor on the GH5S initially doesn't really offend me. When watching the footage, you know, the actual vlogging aspect, in reality, I always just take it in as vocal and just verbal information. I just kind of take that in, but I do agree with some of the people who are maybe saying that the shakiness is a little bit off-putting, and if anything, I see that as a testament to how good the stabilization is on the GH5. So yeah, going forward, I think a lot of the walking and talking to the camera, I will continue to use the GH5. The low light performance of the GH5S has thoroughly impressed me. The comparison between the two shots really just highlights how much better it is in low light, and that has always been one of the shortcomings I've found with the GH5, is that the low light performance just isn't really there. So I will be using that a lot for this, and the way that we've been filming halfway through our rail trip currently is both Ellie and myself have been using both cameras interchangeably, so hopefully it should be seamless, and you probably won't be able to tell which cameras the footage has come from, in all honesty, because we are maximizing the best of both. But either way, I am glad for all of your feedback, and I hope you enjoy the upcoming rail series that we've been working towards. As I said, I'm impressed with this camera. There are some shortcomings to a few things, but I think we can address that by mixing the two cameras well between each other. And the other aspect is the 42.5mm lens. I think is a stellar lens. The quality and the sharpness and the feel of it, as well as the stabilization in that lens, really does hold itself to its own. So I'm very much impressed with that, and have been enjoying shooting with it lately. So yeah, stay tuned for those future videos, and I hope you enjoyed seeing this rather rough vlog, but yeah, hopefully there's been some insight for you, and yeah, that's it from me. I will catch you in the next video. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, see you later, bye bye.